The lullaby came out of the static at 3 in the morning, soft and patient. A melody no human had ever written. 6 notes, then a pause, then the same 6 notes again. It had been singing into the dark for 60 years, and until tonight, no one had answered. Naomi worked the graveyard shift alone at the array. 30 dishes tilted toward a sky she'd stopped looking at years ago. Coffee gone cold. Headphones on, because the hiss of the universe was better company than her own thoughts. She almost typed it off as noise, but noise is random, and this was not. It came back at the same frequency, the same rhythm, spaced too evenly to be a star or a spinning pulsar. Narrow, deliberate, the kind of signal her training had taught her to fear and to want in equal measure. She slowed the playback, and her hand stopped over the keyboard. The pattern rose, dipped, and settled. The shape of a lullaby, the shape you'd hum over a crib, something meant to soothe. Her throat tightened before her mind could explain why. Because Naomi was 9 weeks pregnant, and she had told no one, not the team, not her mother. She was 41 and terrified, and the room she'd meant to paint for a child sat empty, still stacked with boxes she couldn't bring herself to move. She flagged it anyway. By dawn, the room was full. Engineers, a linguist, the director rubbing sleep from his eyes. They played the loop on the speakers. Nobody spoke. A grown room full of scientists, holding their breath at a melody older than most of them. Every test said the same thing. Too narrow to be natural, too structured to be chance. This wasn't the universe humming to itself. Someone had built a transmitter, loaded a recording, and pointed it outward on purpose. A message in a bottle, thrown across the dark. A buoy, they called it. A beacon. Probably no stronger than the little transmitters we'd sent on our own probes. 20 watts, a porch light's worth of power, whispering across light years. It shouldn't have been findable at all. And yet, for 60 years, it sang. So they traced it. Dish by dish, they sharpened the angle, combining signals until the direction narrowed to a needle. Then, the Doppler drift, the slow slide in pitch, told them the buoy was still moving, still coasting, decades after whoever launched it had let go. The travel time gave them the distance, 60 light years. Naomi did the arithmetic before anyone said it aloud and felt the floor tilt. 60 years for the sound to cross the gap. 60 years the lullaby had been in flight before it ever reached her ears, which meant they weren't hearing something happening now. They were hearing something that had happened. The melody on the speakers had left its source before Naomi was born. Whatever hand-pressed record, whatever voice chose this tune, long finished. They were listening to a past that no longer existed. The signal didn't echo. Space doesn't echo. This was a machine, faithfully repeating a stored recording over and over, the way you'd leave a nightlight burning in an empty hall. Play, pause, play. It had never once faltered. It had simply kept its small, stubborn promise. Then the linguist found the thing folded inside the melody. Beneath the notes ran a second layer, not music, but data, threaded through the loop like a signature in the margins. Coordinates, numbers, structure. The lullaby had been carrying a message the whole time. They pulled the layers apart through the night. A star and its position. A world beside it. And then, plans, diagrams. The way we once carved a map onto a golden record and flung it at the stars, hoping someone, someday, would understand who we had been. The plans were architecture. A building, rendered line by line. Not a fortress, not an engine. Something gentle. Small rooms arranged in a soft curve with wide, low windows and no defenses at all. Naomi leaned closer, and the shape resolved into something she recognized. Rows of them. Little beds, low to the floor, rounded corners. A place made for things that were fragile and new and needed to be kept warm. She had seen this layout before, in the brochures she kept hidden in a drawer. It was a nursery. But when they matched the coordinates to the survey logs, the numbers went cold. The world in the plans showed no city, no lights, no heat, nothing built. The blueprints described a place, and the place had never existed. The nursery was only ever a drawing. The truth assembled itself slowly. and it was worse than any of them had guessed. Whoever built the buoy had been planning ahead. A colony, a first generation, children who would need somewhere safe. They recorded the lullaby before the walls went up, and the walls never went up. Something ended them first. A failure, a plague, a silence the records couldn't name. The nursery was never built. The children were never born. And the lullaby, carefully composed, tenderly recorded, had been sung for someone who would never arrive to hear it. Naomi realized her hand had drifted to her stomach. She was crying without sound, and she didn't wipe it away. 60 light years off, a machine was singing a mother's promise to an empty world. And here she was, guarding a promise of her own she'd been too afraid to name. The buoy didn't know any of this. It couldn't. It only kept doing the one thing it had been made to do. Play the song, pause, play the song, steady as a heartbeat, into a silence that had swallowed its makers whole. A kindness with no one left to receive it. They were the first ears to ever hear it, perhaps the last. And the strangest cruelty of light travel is this: the singer would never know they'd listened. Any answer they sent would take 60 years to arrive somewhere no one was waiting. The conversation was over before it began. At dawn, Naomi drove home instead of sleeping. She carried the boxes out of the small empty room one by one until the floor was bare and the light came in clean. She didn't have a plan yet. She only knew she would not leave a promise unbuilt. The buoy is still out there tonight, singing its 6 soft notes into the nothing. 60 light years of faith kept by a machine long after the faithful were gone. So sit with the question the way Naomi does. If a song outlives everyone who could hear it, is it still a message? Or is it a memory humming alone in the dark?